All right, welcome back to the Elias Macco Show. I don't know how you feel about the safety on Quebec roads. I'm certainly asking a lot of questions, particularly in recent months. I've got a couple of stories just from the last little while. Now, last week, we got news that a truck driver that was wanted in Quebec for a 2022 crash south of Montreal, it ended up killing a woman and a boy. Well, the truck driver there, now in custody, right? 28-year-old Baljit Singh was arrested in the U.S., arrested by U.S. Marshals on August 21st. After months of extradition hearings, he was finally brought back to Canada last week. And just last month, we have another story. One person died, 3 others were seriously hurt after a crash on Highway 20. The trailer of a semi hit a car. The truck driver, in that case, took off. And there's just story after story, similar vein. We've spoken to the Quebec Truck Drivers Association. They are concerned about illegal trucking. The Parti Québécois is vowing now to crack down on the practice of illegal trucking. And it's our pleasure to welcome back onto the program Alex Boissonneault. Of course, he's the MNA for Arthabaska, but also spokesperson, the critic responsible for transport for the PQ. Alex and Monsieur Boissonneault, welcome back to the program.
Mr. Marcos, thank you very much for having me.
So just how concerning is it for you and your party, what we're seeing on Quebec roads?
I just heard your introduction. Everybody hearing what you just said should be concerned. And to tell you the truth, I am amazed by the lack of sense of emergency of the Legault government in that matter, because this is not a new phenomenon. We talk about it maybe more in the last few weeks, last months, maybe more since February, but that phenomenon exists. We've been talking about that before February. We're talking about years that it exists. So the fact that we didn't intervene in that matter faster than we did is a preoccupation for us, because there is an impact on the economy, on the trucking industry, but more importantly, an impact on public safety. So we have to act fast on that. It's important what's happening, and it's even more important and problematic that it happens at a moment when the carrier enforcement officers are stuck in their wait station because of a judgment of the Tribunal Administratif du Travail, which is the labor law tribunal in Quebec, saying that the controllers, that the enforcement officers cannot do their work, do interception on the highway, because they're not equipped to do that, considering that sometimes organized crime can use the trucking industry. So because of that, they are stuck in their wait station, and those illegal truckers, they just pass by, and our highways are becoming some kind of a Far West, and with the impact that it can have. It's really problematic.
Well, it's outrageous here because you're describing a provincial issue, something that Quebec needs to take care of, and you started off by talking about the federal issue here, right? The federal Liberal government that, they've made a lot of policy failures. Let me just start on that with you. What are the policy failures from Ottawa that are allowing this type of Wild West, not only in Quebec, but across the country?
Well, we have to say, like, when we talk about illegal trucking, to understand what's happening, we're talking about illegal truckers, illegal employees that don't have permits, that don't meet the requirements to drive those semi-trailers, sometimes don't have insurance, no benefits, and that are hired by dubious companies that want to lower their prices using them. They mostly come from Ontario. Not all of them, but a lot of them comes from Ontario, and a lot of them comes from immigration as well. We have to say that. So the federal government leniency in terms of immigration made possible the use of immigration scheme that allows those dubious companies to hire these employees that are exploited as cheap labor. They are victim of that as well. We have to say it's very important. But the consequences is that they're cutting the prices right now. There's the competition cannot sustain that kind of work. I have a lot of trucking companies, a lot of truckers in my riding that told me that, and I use their words, that it's killing the industry right now. So that's the first part. Second part, when we talk about public safety, the federal government has to act quick as well to make sure that we stop those immigration schemes. But again, the sense of emergency of the Legault government, and that, for me, the fact that we don't act quickly on such an important matter is quite shocking to me.
And I got to be honest, I was on a road trip at the end of August into September. Did a big road trip from Quebec through Kamouraska, then into Eastern Canada, ended up in Halifax. We were stopped at a Tim Hortons in New Brunswick, and I'm sitting there with my family, and next to us is 3 truckers having their coffee and talking, and all they're talking about is being undercut on pricing by 50% from these companies that you're referencing that are using illegal truckers. How do you compete if you can bring in a labor, you don't know where the labor's coming from, and you're charging half as much? Of course, you're going to get these contracts, and I don't know how you compete up against that.
It's impossible. It's impossible. And what you're saying, I've heard it from many people in the trucking industry in my writing, saying that they could offer, for example, a contract to do some transportation from Victoriaville in my writing to, let's say, Calgary. We were talking about maybe $10,000. And with those companies, those dubious companies using illegal trucking, they can cut those prices by half. It's impossible to compete against that. So it's literally killing the industry. And as you said, if you talk to truckers, when I was campaigning for my election, I could hear those stories almost every day of truckers in the region saying that they're thinking of quitting. There are some companies that are about to close as well in my writing, saying that it's really catastrophic right now what's happening. So for me to know that the government is not acting there is, as we said, that those schemes and the illegal trucking, but it happens, and it's even worse in Quebec, at the same time that those who could enforce the law, make sure that the laws are respected, that the rules are respected, they are stuck in wait station. They cannot go out. They cannot do interception on the road. So obviously they are in the wait station. You have a trucker that just passed by, that doesn't stop. But what can they do? The police don't hack because they have a lot to do. So sometimes they would like police to act there, but most of the time they don't, and they cannot go out of the way station to do an interception. So it is really Wild West right now on the highway. So it's really important.
What a terrible combination going on here. Mr. Boissonneault, let me read a text message from a listener. They say, I don't agree with someone from the PQ very often, but he, speaking of you, is absolutely right. I work in the transport industry. I've seen some of these drivers hit buildings when backing up into our office. 3 or 4 drivers will come out of the truck. They're sharing the routes. They're exploited. It is dangerous. So, this is what people are seeing with their very eyes every single day. Monsieur Boissonneault, before I let you go, the PQ, you've got 6 MNAs. So I know you've got to share a lot of responsibilities, right, in all the portfolios. Did I hear correctly that you are now the official opposition critic for your party for Anglophones, relationships with Anglophones? Is that correct?
Isn't it a nice surprise to be here today to talk about that? It is true. It is true. And I'm happy to be there to be with you guys and to be able to talk maybe more often on matters that are important for the English-speaking community. It's going to be my pleasure to do that. My wife is an Anglophone. She's from Ontario. And so I have some direct understanding sometimes of the issues that is important for the community. Obviously, they're going to let me some time to really learn about the files and what I have to do, my work and the responsibility that I have, because I'm going to take it very seriously. Mm-hmm. But yes, it's been announced today officially, so I'm happy to say that hopefully we'll be able to talk after Mr. Macos.
Okay, so Mr. Boissonneault, I'm happy to confirm that because I had a hearing that was going to be announced today. So that's official. I congratulate you on the new role, and then we'll have conversations in the future on those subjects that relate to the Anglos in this province. Looking forward to it.
Yes, me too. Thank you very much for inviting me again, and yes, we'll talk more often.
Awesome. Take care. That's Alex Boissonneault. He's the MNA for Arthabaska, and now the PQ's official critic when it comes to relationships with English-speaking Quebecers.